Wouldn't it be crazy if I just looked sexy as hell right now? Like I could just snap my fingers and... There we go. Much better.
Well, maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Ugly? You gotta be kidding me.
Originally, when I saw Tyler hit my timeline, I wasn't going to talk about him, but I actually want to talk about bullying, and I want to talk about what happens when a lolcow hits our feed and we feel really justified in wishing for their downfall. Tyler is a trans man in his 20s, and he's obviously a very lost person. He exists on the internet as a disabled creative and singer. He's confusing in the way that he tells stories, and he speaks with an inflection that triggers us all back to 2010 Tumblr.
Absolutely no idea if one of my favorite bands might want a second vocalist, but I do know I am crazy enough to ask. So hi, Lovejoy. Do you want a second vocalist? My name is Tyler Salona. I'm 26 years old. I live in Texas, but I'm trying to move to England anyway. I'm a massive extrovert. I've been performing since I was 10, and in 2019, I was actually a semi-professional vocalist, but then had to spend almost 5 years getting my voice back after losing it completely because someone hit me with their car. Through the sheer force of audacious determination, I now have my voice back and my vocal stamina. Which basically means that now that I can go back to music, not doing so makes everything else feel unfulfilling and sad. I figured I might as well shoot my shot. And I also play the trumpet, which is probably helpful. Anyway, here's Portrait of a Blank Slate. The whole thing. I hope you like it. I mean, you probably like it already, let's be honest. It is your song, but I also hope you like the parts that I'm gonna do. The singing part. You know.
Such a pretty picture, oh so happy, oh so happy. I'm pretty cool once you get to know me.
As an autistic woman and a disabled person, I understand how difficult it is to present yourself on the internet in a way that is consumable. I also understand what it's like to put on a voice because as a streamer, I speak differently than when I make these commentary videos. I also know what it's like to watch YouTubers of the past pick up a persona with a weird way of speaking that ends up becoming lovable to the audience, and it helps them get viral.
I know where Tyler Catastrophe's cadence and manner of speaking comes from because I was best friends with somebody for years who had the exact same cadence, like I swear to God. They were obsessed with John Mulaney and Thomas Sanders.
So being online as much as I am, I tend to overshare everything about myself. You may know of my love of theater, my enthusiasm for cartoons, and of course, my passion for pizza.
One time I was at the dinner table when I was like 6, because I had to be.
It is a very specific genre of millennial humor that was from 2015 to 2018. It's this weird, dry, sarcastic humor.
I was quite the nerd in school. I'm pretty sure that's a surprise to no one.
But you're perceiving yourself as you're speaking. Most people I know who've ever acted this way, they don't talk like this anymore because they grew out of it. I think the reason that most people grow out of it is because they realize that John Mulaney's playing a character, Thomas Sanders is playing a character. These aren't real mannerisms that people have in real life. They realize, oh, everybody can tell that I'm doing this weird voice thing, and then they snap out of it. Clearly, I don't think Tyler has hit that yet.
I don't think I'm alone in saying that Tyler has obviously seen the success others have garnered from this and has decided to pick up a sort of persona of his own. I think the dilemma is whether or not Tyler knows he's doing it or not.
Mutual understanding is very important to me. And because I talk to people for a living, sometimes that's difficult.
And I do think that's what the audience is picking up on. I think the audience has a feeling, and I think the audience is right, that Tyler might not realize he's doing it. And that lack of self-awareness is what makes people turn you into a lolcow. It's an inability to read the room no matter how many people are trying to help you. It's an inability to read the social situation no matter how much people have explained it to you. It's exactly why Boogie and other people have become lolcows over the years. No matter the success, no matter the help, no matter anything, they just can't quite figure it out. And most of us feel that if we were in that position, we could have figured it out. And to be honest, we probably could have. That's what really separates the people who can and the people who can't.
Why don't you just tell the audience?
I don't want to destroy a human life. Because I don't want to destroy someone's fucking life. Because I don't want to destroy somebody's life. Because I don't want to destroy somebody's life.
If Tyler was just a little bit more self-aware, if Tyler got rid of this weird way that he speaks, if Tyler presented a little bit differently, I think Tyler could have found a space on the internet that really would have helped him.
Because when you're suddenly faced with a lot of people who don't want to understand you, and decide to pick your entire life apart looking for things to misinterpret, spreading lies, misinformation, or even just reposting your own words and leading people to false conclusions about them, At that point, nothing I say to those people will ever be good enough.
Tyler's in this position where he speaks very highly of himself in one way and then speaks very low of himself in others. You know, he's this great singer who's amazing and sexy, and also he can never pay his bills and his art doesn't sell and he begs for money on the internet. It's a very fine line of perfecting the art of asking help from your audience and making sure that you show them that you were worth investing in, basically.
TikTok, I need your help, please. My name is Tyler. I'm a transgender, two-spirit, disabled artist currently stuck living in Texas, and I don't want to be here anymore. But luckily, my hard work for the past couple years is finally looking like it's paying off because I have an opportunity to move all the way from Dallas, Texas to fucking England. And I can't give details yet, but it is kind of my dream job, and it's something I've wanted since I was like 12. And considering last week there were 2 shootings in places I frequent, both within like 20 miles of me, on the same day, I think it couldn't come at a better time. But the only thing keeping me from leaving literally tomorrow is that I have to be able to afford to do it, which, you know. Now, I've been working my ass off for the past year and a half, hoping for this exact outcome. So I've got like the beaded jewelry we love, we all know it. That's probably why most of you are following me. And of course, I finally also got my print website up. You can put my art on a skateboard. So I've been told to make a GoFundMe. Here it is, that's me at a market that didn't go well, but hey, I got a good picture out of it. And normally the thought of asking for help makes me feel like I'm choking, but this time I really need this to work out.
Tyler also mixes in a very huge social no-no, which is engaging in parasocial relationships in such a way that it comes off being stalkerish, basically. I'm not saying Tyler is a stalker. I'm saying that Tyler gives stalker, which is a very difficult image to sort of turn around. And so the LolCow maintains its LolCow status by never knowing how to get out of that social awkwardness. So the first example of parasocial no-nos I want to give an example of is this here. Tyler talked about a dream job, but the dream job didn't exactly exist. So you'll see in this Reddit post, it says Stuart Semple just exposed Tyler's delusion about a job offer in England on his TikTok and Instagram. Here's the picture. So Tyler obviously met Stuart. Years ago, Tyler swung by, nice bloke. So it's positive. Then he says, he made me this, priceless. Okay, that's nice. He also said this in the comment sections. This person said, I swear it was an unpaid internship at best. Stuart says it wasn't even that. He asked me for a job and I was trying to be nice and said if he ever made it back to England, we could talk about it. He spent less than a half an hour with me. He was really lovely and I wish him well, but sadly, there was never a job offer. Certainly nothing that should have made him sell all his belongings and plan to move halfway across the world. I hope he is okay. I think if we've learned anything from this, it's that we need to normalize rejecting people and being blunt about there not being an opening. And you need to read the room. This is important. You need to understand the social situations you are in, and you need to be able to, as an adult, understand if somebody is offering you an actual job or just trying to be nice to you. This seems to be a big struggle for Tyler, and as much as I am empathetic towards it, obviously as a neurodivergent person, I also just want to encourage people to be the adult in the room and read the social situation for what it is, and if you're confused, to ask for clarification. And then usually what happens is the LolCow doubles down, and then it becomes sort of a permanent description of said creator. Like Boogie, no matter how many times people tried to help him, or no matter how much success he ever found, or how much the fans even loved him, it didn't even matter that his channel reached over 1 million subscribers. He just never could stop being a LolCow.
Storm sometimes. Fault sees us through it. Thank you.
Look, that was inspirational. They had your back.
I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I just want to get through it.
And I think because Boogie is 50, there's definitely less empathy there. But Tyler's in his 20s. And so there's almost like this hope that maybe his 20s will be far behind him eventually and he won't have to think about it. And I guess maybe from an autistic disabled perspective, I do empathize deeply with this idea of having a cringe 20s. And I'm so grateful every day that I get closer and closer to 40. And yet I've never been a LolCow. And so I think one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video was to really reach out to my fellow neurodivergents, my autistics, my disabled people and say, hey, I know it's already hard for us to live in a world where the script is specific and not always clear. And I want to say that if you have good intentions, you need to learn to read the room like everyone does, but you're not going to get the social benefit of the doubt if you are also in a position of being a minority on top of a minority. And this is me telling you this as like survival advice, obviously. In a liberated perspective, in a liberated space, we would have these conversations differently, but this is the internet, and the internet is a very dangerous place. And so I just want to tell you from one older person to maybe wherever you are in your journey, you don't need to be Tyler, and Tyler shouldn't even be Tyler. But Tyler is only Tyler because I don't think Tyler has anybody in his life to tell him, like, slow down. Example, when I was younger and I would have strong feelings about whatever I was going through, I usually had friends or family that would be like, don't post that. Or, hey, I could send it to a friend and family and be like, hey, should I post this video? And they'd be like, don't post this video. And that was really helpful, right? Until you learn to read the room, until you learn the social script, until you figure out who you are, it really helps to have a solid community behind you. And that's one of the struggles and one of the devastating parts about being a child without community in the world is you grow up into an adult who can't read the room and you suffer unnecessarily. And worse is you make people uncomfortable.
Listen, I am fully and wholeheartedly embracing my thirst trap era. This is an amazing time for me. Truly, it is. I mean, I'm hot, I'm single, I'm skilled, I'm talented. I have so much going for me. And this isn't bragging. This is just me reminding myself, honestly. Like, this is just me telling. It's all true. It's amazing. I need to go be hot more, honestly. Why didn't I cut my hair sooner? What the fuck am I on right now? Anyway, you should buy some jewelry and tell me I'm pretty. Might as well.
Tyler is not without issue. I mean, he's identified as Two-Spirit, which is super inappropriate. He also basically gave stalker vibes when it came to a creator named Wilbur, who we actually covered a year or so ago when his ex came out with abuse allegations. And so it was interesting that of all the people that Tyler decided to form a sort of parasocial relationship with, it was like an abusive person.
I have had a crush on Will Gold since 2019 when I heard him laugh in the background of someone else's video and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen. Which is really inconvenient for me because I'm very much a one soul at a time kind of person. So once I develop a crush, virtually no one else stands a chance ever. And at the time, I had just broken off a terrible engagement to a guy who didn't even fucking like me. And since then, I have only briefly dated one other person who was wonderful, but it didn't work out. And so in all of that time, regardless of how many people have tried and been interested in me, I have not been able to find the interest for any single one of them. Because I have a fucking crush on a guy I have interacted with once. And I don't even officially know his sexuality. That's a whole other thing. And I have tried. I have tried so hard to move on from this, to let it go, because I want so badly for it not to cross over into parasocial territory. But in like the 7 minutes that we spoke to each other, one, every time we made eye contact, I thought my heart was gonna fucking burst out of my chest and fly away. Two, I was so nervous that my head just shut off and my mouth had a mind of its own. And anyone who knows me and has ever met me knows that I don't get nervous about people. What the hell was that? Three, he somehow managed to make me want to write music again, something I have not done since my last band broke up in 2019 and I got hit by a car and couldn't sing anymore. And I can sing again now. It took several years, but I got it back because I'm amazing. But how dare you pull my spark back out from underneath the ashes I spent years burying it under because it hurt too much to think about. In like 2 sentences. It's rude. And 4, he failed to take a selfie with me because he was operating on like iPhone settings and I have an Android and I accidentally called him adorable, and immediately wanted to swallow my fucking tongue. Because you don't flirt with people when they're working. That's rude. I paid to... I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. And my point is, it's a whole thing that I would like to no longer have to deal with. And all of this is made worse because I have been recognized at every single concert I've been to in the past year and a half, including 2 of his. And I've been on the Lovejoy Nation podcast twice. So no matter how many times I try to sweep this out of the rug and move on with my life, there's always that little thing in the back of my head saying, there's a non-zero chance. Oh my god. So basically, the way I see it, I finally say fuck it. I make this video. I say it all out loud to the ether that is the internet. Worst case scenario, he sees it. He says, hey, not for me. I move on with my life. It's fine. I'm an adult. Who cares? I'll take a no over uncertainty any day of the week. Neutral option. Nothing happens. Oh well, I guess. Best case scenario... You know, because honestly, it doesn't matter what I'm doing any day ever for the rest of my life. If he was like, hey, do you want to get dinner or something? I'd say yes. Obviously, I'm delusional. It's fine. But at this point, I'm just so over the not doing anything about the things that I want. You know? What's up with that? No one gets anywhere that way. So fuck it. I've said it out loud. What else is there to do at 9 p.m. on a... Is it Friday? I think it's Friday. Anyway... It is what it is, I guess. Okay, love you, bye. Also, I don't have a ring light. I have this flower lamp. It's very yellow, but yellow's my favorite color, so. A win is a win.
I've been told to stop gatekeeping my talent, so I'm gonna do that. Also, if I get the words wrong, blame Lovejoy. The song's not even out yet, and it's already stuck in my head. I can't Google the lyrics. Tell them to correct me or something. Anyway. I swear I've eaten all my egg whites. Still you give me stage fright. It feels like there's a guidebook that everyone can read, but cause when you said come closer, you really mean it's over. Your room temperature mimosa, and I am sure it's gonna kill me.
And the problem is that Tyler did this other thing that I think is frustrating for people, is that in order for Tyler to fulfill his dreams, he begged for money. And that's really difficult in this economy, let alone the world that we live in right now, where a lot of people in the US, especially trans people, are feeling so threatened by this administration that Tyler, out of all people who, yes, is trans, asked for money to, quote, get out of Texas, but did it in a way that felt very entitled. They make art as an example. They make necklaces and art pieces like paintings. And the necklaces, as an example, the chokers are sometimes $800. You can't, in one side of your mouth, say, I have no money and I'm struggling, and also charge $800 for work that you feel you're entitled to earning that amount because you've, quote, put 10 years into a craft that, to be honest, doesn't look that way.
Hey, I could really use your help. If you wouldn't mind lending me a minute of your time, I promise to give it back at the end. I'm Tyler. I'm an independent artist and jewelry designer, and it would mean the absolute world to me if you could help me find as many people as possible to just see this video. Because honestly, who wouldn't want to see all the cool stuff I make? I have almost 50 different choker designs, flowers, mushrooms, even witchy ones and Halloween ones, and of course the really intricate pieces that are made with real crystals. And all the more intricate ones come in cute little matching gift boxes, by the way. And as someone who spent nearly 10 years learning and mastering my craft, a little recognition would be nice.
A lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of creatives are trying so hard to become full-time creatives. And so, you know, I get this as somebody in my 20s who also struggled financially, who was working 3 jobs, who really struggled in many ways. I absolutely understand the need to want to get paid for your labor. And yet the branding matters, because whether you like it or not, if you are going to ask $800 of somebody, you really have to have a reason you're asking that. At the same time, you're raising money to move out of country, which, by the way, is not as easy as it seems as an American who lives in Croatia, because I got married. Immigrating to a new place is very hard. And so Tyler acting very casual about what it will take to move countries is a part of what makes people think it's also maybe, and I hate to use this word, but like a scam. And I know, and I've told a lot of my friends this, a lot of the people in my life who come to me and say, I really want to move out of the country. This is the most serious decision you will ever make. It is not casual. It is not easy. Most people are never successful in it. It is very, very difficult, especially if you have no friends or family or stability where you're moving. You're embarking on a very difficult path. So Tyler isn't showing proof of paperwork or a real plan to leave the country or anything really stable. And so he at most will probably leave and come back when his visa's up, or will never actually go there, but has successfully raised money. So he will probably do something with it. And again, like, there's so many layers to why people reacted so negatively towards Tyler. And I think it's all of these things combined.
I cannot get off of Tyler Catastrophe TikTok. And part of the reason is that is exactly who I married. Not my current wife, but my ex-wife is just like the female version of him, and like the mannerisms, the way of talking, his singing, it's all just reminds me of her so much. And so I just like can't look away from the train wreck that is him. And I don't think people should make fun of him. Honestly, I think people should just leave him alone. I truly don't think the people that are like that, the like theater kid vibes people, like, I truly don't think they can help it.
He's unconventional. He's confusing. The way he speaks feels fake. It's performative. Nobody likes a performance unless it's a good performance. He's begging for money. He's talking about parasocial relationships with creatives that don't feel the same way about him.
I met Lovejoy last night. Mark recognized me and my roommate, which was fun. Love that guy. Also, sorry about the slide whistles, Mark. They'll be silly. It'll be fine. But there were also several other people from TikTok who recognized me, which is always fun. Love it when that happens. It's always a chose, and I love that for me. But they know about the audition video. They didn't ask me to join the band, but it's fine. They seem to be doing pretty okay without me, at least.
Also, side note, the number of people who took that I'm so serious as I'm so serious, wild to me. Do you not hear my voice? Of course I didn't think they were going to actually want me to join the band. I was bored and views were low. The world was my oyster. Anyway. But I mentioned that video paid my electric bill, generally the most money I've ever made from a TikTok. And Mark's response was, damn, maybe I should audition for Lovejoy.
He's not reading the room and he doubles down.
But the one thing that really never stopped calling was the land I was born to. I was born and raised in Oklahoma, arguably the most indigenous state given how many times it was taken away and then leased back to its people.
You are not indigenous. You are not Two-Spirit because you are not indigenous.
Hi, I'm an indigenous person. Here's my tribal citizenship card because someone's gonna,
I was born and raised in Oklahoma, arguably the most indigenous state given how many times it was taken away and then leased back to its people. Peoples who have endured immense suffering, time and time again, and even in continued suffering, have fought tooth and nail to keep not only their lives, but their ways alive, even when their stories and histories and ceremonies have been outlawed by people who saw what they had, saw their kindness and generosity, and decided to take everything they had away from them.
Again, thank you, white non-indigenous person, for explaining colonization.
Take opportunities away from the people that deserve them, and would never take up space in a culture I was not welcome to. If honoring the ways of the people of my home, learning their histories and doing what little I can to help keep their ways alive, and referring to myself as Two-Spirit as a way of honoring the weight of my own soul.
The term Two-Spirit is very spiritually significant to a lot of different indigenous tribes, and it is not your title to claim. You do not get to call yourself that because you are not that.
Even when he apologizes, though it can come across very authentic, it also comes across very just, the internet's mad at me, so I'll apologize.
So, firstly, I do not refer to myself as Two-Spirit. I have mistakenly done so in the past, in 2023, I think, in a video I honestly thought I deleted, because I realized right after I posted the video that I fucked up. And when I made a more recent video about the differences between my own beadwork and the beadwork done by other native and indigenous peoples around me, ended up unearthing that old video that I had already self-corrected and again thought I had deleted. With everything else going on, I panicked. I ended up making another video that I did not think through. The words that I ended up saying were entirely wrong. And my exhaustion and overwhelm in the moment does not excuse it. I fucked up. And I am genuinely sorry. I promise I am just as upset with myself as anyone else was, and I have been corrected. But I knew that I could not address it until I had dealt with more of the mental stuff. I promise the delay was not me trying to avoid accountability, it was just me trying to avoid another mistake.
Is this a real apology or is this a cope apology? Is this a I'm sorry I got caught apology? Now I want to segue to James Charles because he also had to recently apologize, and let's be real, it obviously is a fake apology because he's done this one too many times. When you're truly sorry, it's embodied and it happens less over time until eventually it doesn't happen anymore. And look, I think every day that goes by, James Charles as an example is one step away from being a lolcow himself.
Spirit Airlines just filed for bankruptcy and I have lost my job. Here's a GoFundMe link. Any donations help. I'm sure they do, sweetheart. I'm sure they do. You know what else would help you? Getting another job. Yeah, try that. Because in the time that it took you to copy and paste the same fuck-ass message to myself, who you don't follow, by the way, and probably 100 other influencers and celebrities, you could have applied for 100 other jobs, but you didn't because you're a lazy piece of shit.
James Charles literally messaged minors and was able to rebuild his brand better than Tyler could. And that's the part that makes me wonder, what is it about a lolcow that makes the internet just go, ooh, this person? And I really do think it's Tyler's inability to prove that he's sort of successful in any way and reading the room. Success, pretty privilege. It allows you sort of leeway to act out of the script. Example, Clavicular is very, very handsome, and so he can be socially awkward. James Charles is very successful and rich, so he can be rude and, yes, engage with minors. As we've seen time and time again, the world doesn't seem to care about that.
I'm not ready to die, not yet. Pull me out of the train wreck. Pull me out, pull me out, pull me out.
Turn on the charm for me tonight. Got my heavy heart to hold me down.
Tyler has none of those things. They're neither conventionally attractive, nor are they rich or famous, and nor are they successful. So they have nothing to sort of lean on for their weirdness or quirkiness or out of touchness. They have nothing to make people feel confident about.
I'm gonna weigh in on the Tyler Catastrophe situation exactly one time, and then I'm not touching it again. Is the motherfucker weird? Yes. Are most of the criticisms being made about him accurate, if not softballs? Absolutely. Am I glad that we have further evidence that art is not always subjective? Yes, I am. However, y'all need a bitch to be fat and kind of ugly before you clock them on this shit. And I know a lot of y'all did not know what histrionic personality disorder was until this shark attack started. And the blood in the water that brought a lot of you hungry, starvated sharks into this situation, into this moment that birthed this LolCow, was that the motherfucker's a little bit fat.
I'm gonna be real for a second. I'm gonna be a little bit mean. A lot of the people who are making those righteous videos about Tyler Catastrophe, you know, making fun of him for the right reasons, don't realize why everybody else is making fun of Tyler Catastrophe. And more specifically, how close they are to Tyler Catastrophe than they are to the other people making fun of him. I'll give you an example. Someone on here made a video mocking Tyler with the absolute worst haircut you've ever seen in your life. Like fell asleep too close to an overturned lawnmower type of situation. They are now having to make a video saying that, no, I chose to put my hair like this. That's not what I was making fun of. But to most of the people making fun of Tyler Catastrophe, and to most of the people who were the audience that witnessed you making fun of that man, you just look like him with a bad haircut. You are as big of a candidate to be a LolCow as Tyler Catastrophe. And I don't know if you don't understand that or if you're just jealous of the attention.
And this really matters when we're talking about social dynamics. It's really, really important. And as an autistic person, I realized this myself growing up, that one of the things that I would need to have, one of the things we'd all need to have in a sense, is to reassure people that we're safe. And this isn't just about being autistic, but I do think autistic people struggle socially in a way that other people don't, because the scripts feel so fake to us. Like what signals safety to normal people feels like a fake performance to us. As an example, when you're at the register at the grocery store and someone says, "Hi, how are you?" And as an autistic person, you might want to literally answer how you're doing, even if it's negative. You don't do that, because what you're doing is you're trying to signal safety to the clerk. So they know you're okay. You know, it's okay. The social situation is going to go okay. You're supposed to answer in a way that's reasonable. "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And then you have the conversation. I understand that as neurodivergent people, it's like, but why are we doing that? Because we're social creatures and we're evolved animals on a planet, and because it's a requirement of society. Just like stopping at a red light and going at a green light is a sign that you are safe. Same thing with speech. And so Tyler lacks this signaling, and that's why everyone is upset when Tyler shows up on their timeline, because it's signaling a lack of awareness. Example, Tyler says they were a semi-pro singer, and Tyler sings on the internet. And I think that as a person who loves to sing on her stream, I know I can't sing, but Tyler doesn't seem to know this. And even when my audience is like, "Oh my God, Brittany, your voice is so beautiful, you could totally sing." With peace and love, I know my audience is primarily autistic. You in that message is what Tyler hears and goes, "Oh yeah, I could be a singer."
So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying so low, at least I'm flying free.
See, I have enough self-awareness to know, like, I'm not going to be a singer. I am not going to do what it takes and / find a brand and / find a sound and / do this thing. And also, I don't think my voice is that good. And so again, I like to sing for fun, but Tyler is saying he sings professionally, and he is asking bands if they need a backup singer, if they need a second singer. So he is insinuating, well, he's not even insinuating, he's bluntly saying, he's actually taking the risk to say, "Hey, I'm going to put myself out here.
I'm flying high, defying gravity.
I just be posting things. I don't know.
Now, here's something that autistic people do tend to do that I think Tyler is doing. And I'm not saying Tyler's autistic. I'm just saying it feels autistic, looks autistic, is autistic. I don't know. But Tyler did this thing that I think a lot of autistic people do, which is hear that going out on a limb and taking a chance and doing this amazing once in a lifetime thing will get you success. Like there's that infamous story about how Justin Bieber waited outside of Usher's club multiple times, and Usher ignored him the first time and Justin showed up. Okay. In one story, that's an amazing success story. In another story, Justin Bieber's a stalker, right? Tyler is the kind of person who hears that story and goes, "I'm going to wait outside the door of my favorite band until they, notice me." Difference is that Justin Bieber had talent. Usher could take advantage of Justin Bieber's talent, depending on how you tell that story. And there's nothing about Tyler to take advantage of. So again, it's kind of like a lack of reading the room. And I understand, like, when especially you're a young person and you're looking at the world and the world is telling you to like take risks and go out there and do something. Tyler reads that and says, oh, I've got this handled. But because he can't read the room and because it doesn't match up with what he is actually presenting, it looks ridiculous. And then it looks kind of, forgive me, but like insane. And then it looks like, well, it turns into a LolCow. That's how you become a LolCow, is you just do things over and over again that don't make sense to people. And every time someone gives you the opportunity to do something better and you can't, it signals like a lack of safety. Like, how can you be reliable if you can't read the room? And again, we don't want to be ableist in the way that we have this conversation. We want to be self-aware of communication styles and how they matter.
Let's say you see someone on this app who you think is delusional. As a therapist, I just want to remind you that a delusion is by definition something that is a fixed belief, not amenable to change in light of conflicting evidence. So that means that anyone who you think is like delusional, that means that they do not believe the evidence that you are presenting in front of them. And that is what makes it a delusion. So if you're gonna say this person is delusional, I just want to remind everyone who thinks that this person is experiencing a delusion, and again, I'm not diagnosing anyone, that if you think a person is experiencing a delusion on the internet, you telling them that there is evidence that says otherwise is literally pointless. It's pointless. And it actually just makes it worse.
And when you're on a date with somebody, how you communicate matters. When you're talking about babysitting people's kids, it matters. When you're working at a job and you're a professional, it matters. And I want to relate this to sort of like Trump, because Trump is basically like a presidential LolCow, but Trump is also in charge of the US government, and it's really scary. And I think one of the reasons people are really frustrated with Trump is that he doesn't read the room.
Nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said.
The reporter he is talking about is Serge Kovaleski, who now works for the New York Times. As you can see right there, he suffers from a chronic condition that impairs movement of his arms.
He doesn't understand social expectations and social cues.
And we just want to thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting.
Your English is very good. How long did it take you to learn English once you got here?
It was really easy because we speak English in Australia, you idiot.
He says the most offensive stuff all of the time. Now, some people really, really like it because like, oh, he's organic and he's real. He's rude. And so again, you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be obnoxious. You don't want to, become a LolCow.
What's your favorite farm animal?
Favorite farm animal?
What's the animal?
Well, this guy from over the city.
I'll tell you what I love. I love cows.
So you have to learn to read the room out of kindness and compassion and love, not because you're trying to get to the top of a social hierarchy. And I think that's the key difference between neurodivergence with some moral framework, because we do philosophy through pop culture here. This is philosophical at the end of the day. And neurotypicals who are looking to build or gain prominence on a social hierarchy. If you're autistic and you care about morals and you care about values, you must learn to socially communicate as a way to signal safety from a place of compassion and love. If you are neurotypical, you usually learn how to do these social games because you want to gain success in the hierarchy. I would recommend you build a foundation of love and compassion and a values foundation based off of good morals and hopefully good ethics that help people as a whole, society as a whole. So Tyler fails on this front in the way that Trump fails on this front. The only difference between Trump and Tyler, though, is, again, success. Trump is a billionaire. He's the president. He has social status. At the end of the day, he has all of these things to look back on and say, you might hate the way I speak. You might hate the way I talk. You might hate how rude I am, but I'm the president. Tyler doesn't have that.
I don't agree with how the internet's treating him at this point. I know that I probably caused quite a fair bit of that because of the videos that I made, but like, I don't know if it's just me. I feel bad. I feel bad now. I feel I've got a guilty conscience above me. It's gone from being a thing where people were having a go at Tyler because he's an abuse sympathizer and that is bad, to now people don't even know what he's done wrong. They're just taking the piss out of him. They're taking the piss out of his singing. They're taking the piss out of his business. They're taking the piss out of the way he looks, his hair, blah, 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 etc., just because everyone else is doing it.
And so again, the difference between a LolCow and someone who's just cringy or rude is the ability to read the room just enough to gain some of your goals or achieve some of your goals, enough to prove to people that you're not just talking out of your ass.
Can we just take a second to appreciate how great my ass looks in these jeans? I think we should all be talking about that, honestly. Why do I have a jewelry business when I can just have an ass.
That's really, I think, why Tyler comes across so awkward, is he kind of is just talking out of his ass, right? He says he's sexy, questionable. He says he's talented, questionable. He says he's successful, questionable. Like everything he says, questionable.
I know I've said before that my type is tall, blonde, goofy musicians, and that is still very true. When it comes to the dynamic, like I want to be in a power couple, but I don't want to be the sole breadwinner, because I've done that. It's not fun for me. I want a man who I can create with. Music, art, opportunities, the list goes on. I am a maker of things who likes to share the making of the things. That's just me. Also, I want a man with ambition who actually acts on that ambition. I've been with too many guys who never act on their goals. It's not for me. Also, I want to be with a man who is successful on his own, and also isn't threatened by the fact that I am successful and want to be successful. I am awesome and amazing, and he should understand that. Is that too much to ask? I'm amazing. Surely it's easy to be inspired by me. I deserve to be courted. I deserve to go on nice dates. I deserve to be flaunted around like a princess because I am one.
Now the question is, what has Tyler ever said that has been true? So now nothing Tyler's saying is reinforced by data. And without the data, what are we really looking at here? And that's why it feels so uneasy. And I think that's why the internet so easily wants to bully him or turn on him, because it just feels like you want to put him in his place, especially since his extroverted personality on TikTok is I'm sexy. Ooh, nothing makes the internet more upset than somebody saying I'm smart, I'm sexy, I'm capable, and not having the data to back it up. And even when they have the data to back it up, even then.
If you're critiquing the like GoFundMe stuff or the beadwork, or saying, hey, why don't you just buy some beadwork from Indigenous creators instead? Or if you're talking about the Parasocial stuff, right? Okay, fine. If somebody is posting something online and they are opening themselves to public critique, they are opening themselves to public critique. I know that. However, a lot of people who are critiquing Tyler Catastrophe right now are people who are otherwise considering themselves of kind and caring and giving people, right? Like, I haven't seen a lot of people misgendering him, right? I have seen a lot of people calling him ugly. And then I've started to see other trans masks popping up saying, hey, I am now feeling very insecure about my appearance because my entire For You page is full of people calling this other trans mask who I kind of look like ugly.
I just want to pause here and also add to this conversation, because I do think it's important that when you watch my content, you know I like categorization, and I am categorizing Tyler as non-conventional, but I am not saying that he is ugly. Because I do think at the end of the day, plenty of people look like Tyler, and you can be attracted to those types of people. And it doesn't mean that they're ugly because they look like him. It just means that when you are unconventional, plus say something outrageous, plus disliked by the internet, you are more likely to get criticized on top of what you said, also for what you look like. And I know as a femme presenting person that sits right in the middle of you either think I'm ugly or you think I'm pretty, I understand that sometimes when I say things, it gets doubly criticized by my haters on the internet because of the way that I look. And of course, you add onto the layer of being queer, gender fluid, or trans, and there's just going to be added criticism that goes along with any critique of anybody on the internet. So if you bring intersectional feminism into this, Tyler just sits at this like perfect intersection of being sort of just ostracized by many communities. And I don't know which community will embrace him ultimately, but I think until he truly authentically embraces himself, it will be really difficult for him to allow himself to be integrated into a community where he doesn't always have to be the main character as a cope. Because ultimately what Tyler is going through requires medical professionals, not because he's quote insane, but because we all need support. And Tyler's obviously suffering from something. I mean, it's hard enough being trans in the world. Everybody needs support for that. But he's also a person who inhabits a body that's rejected by the population. He appears to be neurodivergent, and so that's just naturally going to cause sort of conflict between him and others. Obviously, being very compassionate and empathetic, I hope he uses that money he raised from GoFundMe to actually put it towards his mental health. I think it would really, really help him. I am kind of concerned he's going to use that money to move to a country temporarily and not understand the immigration process and possibly move to a place where he has no community instead of investing that back into himself, because I think he deserves to see a medical professional. We all deserve that. I know for me, therapy was a life-saving experience. Therapy plus philosophy, of course, because, you know, we have to exist in the world and we should know what role we're playing. But I just wanted to add that little bit of a, note, because I do think that people will see Tyler and automatically dislike him for what he looks like. And we should make sure that when we're critiquing people, it's not because of what they look like. And because we live in a society, understand that fashion is a signal. We communicate with what we wear and how we look. And he is loudly and proudly communicating who he is. And each of us gets to decide what to do with that. But overall, I do think most of the critique about Tyler has been because of his actions and his continued ignorance and his lack of self-awareness. So generally, I would say most people I've seen on my timeline have stayed away from what he looks like, and most people are focusing on his ideas. But we have prejudices and biases, and so no doubt that a lot of those opinions, even if they never commented on what he looks like, subconsciously they might be thinking about what he looks like.
If you don't have anything nice to say, at least be entertaining. Here's a list of very real things I have said recently in response to nameless, faceless internet trolls who try to insult me, but fail because they're fucking boring. Number 1, I will not think of you again. How much of you has already been forgotten? 2, when was the last time someone treated you gently? And why wasn't it you? 3, if you found kindness, would you know how to hold it? If you found it, would you even know? When did you last feel the weight of your own soul? And why can't you feel it anymore? I used to think I was a changeling as a kid. Okay, love you, bye.
If there's one thing I could hope for Tyler, it's that he really takes a break and thinks about what he's doing, and also considers that being a lolcow isn't worth it, even if he has successfully raised, as last time I checked, like $16,000 on his GoFundMe. It might sound like a lot of money now, but in the long run, who is going to network with you? How are you going to get a job? Who is going to socialize with you? And maybe you can say it's almost a privilege to think long term, but I need you to think long term. I know a lot of you are in survival mode. I've been there. But one of the things I see different from like Bert, who is surviving, and Bert, who's thriving, and even, by the way, me using my childhood nickname Bert instead of my name Brittany, because I have 2 different channels, is going to already socially throw people off, because like how many femme presenting people are named Bert, right? It's just a childhood nickname. So even when I chose to do that via branding, I chose for multiple reasons, but it is going to either upset people or not upset people. Whether we like it or not, people get upset over everything, right? So again, Tyler might hear that and go, well, if they're going to get upset, I'm just going to do whatever anyways. Sort of, but not always, but kind of. You have to still be strategic, okay? So the difference between that Brittany, that Bert, and this one here is that I did learn my place. What was my goal? What was I doing here? What was my lane? And then I stood in that lane and I became professional in that lane. And I continue to do that. Tyler needs to pick a lane. Are you a singer? Are you an artist? Are you a bead worker? What are you? And then ask yourself why. And then when you price your items, ask yourself why. And I think this is really difficult because neurodivergence, a lot of us want to be artists for a living. And I'm very grateful I get to do that 100%. And I went through an Etsy phase and an art phase and this phase. And I went through all these different phases to figure out who I wanted to be. You really got to pick one. You have to pick one as your career and pick the rest as hobbies. I have a video on this. I'll link it down below. But you really got to know who you are in the story, and you really got to pick your lane, because otherwise it signals to the world like you don't know what you're doing. And so they can't trust you to know what you're doing because you don't even know what you're doing. And that's what Tyler kind of like expresses, is like a lack of knowing the self. And so the reason I love philosophy is because it is really hard to be born into the world and know where you're supposed to belong, whether you're neurodivergent or not. A lot of us don't know who we are, right? Maybe we're just thinking about who we are in relation to our job or our families or our friends, but you are more than that. And so the question is, who is Tyler other than a lolcow? Because I would hope that he is more than just a lolcow. Though I will say, when it comes to people like Boogie as an example, I'm not sure he is ever going to be anything other than a lolcow, but maybe that's also because he's in his 50s. Tyler's still in his 20s. There's time. And I can just hope that he takes this opportunity to take that time to know himself, because he deserves it. We all deserve it. And I really hope that he's not really stalking anybody and that it's just weird parasocial activity. And I really hope he like reels that in. And I really hope that he understands that you're not a main character in a movie or a book. You're just the main character in your life. You're not the main character in other people's. Okay. Like, I'm the main character in my life. I'm not the main character in everyone else's life. And so Tyler has to humble himself to remember that, because right now I think he is clinging to some performative early 2010s Tumblr aesthetic that didn't even work then for most people. It was really lucky that it worked for anyone to have like a YouTuber voice or a performance voice, right? And I really hope that one day he finds his real voice. But if not Tyler, you, right? Because ultimately this isn't even about Tyler. It's about you. Who are we in the story? And are you a Tyler? And what are you going to do about it? And this is why I say being a whole human being is so hard. Being a good person is so hard, because so many of us, we don't even know who we are. We're just doing what our parents told us. We're just doing what our jobs told us. We're just doing what our country told us. We don't even know why we're doing it. And as you figure that out, please, be patient with yourself, yes, but also be considerate of others, because while we're on the journey to figure ourselves out, we will hurt people. And especially ourselves, if we are not wise and don't use discernment in terms of how we show up. I'm speaking from experience. I'm not judging you. I'm just letting you know. With that said, I want to hear your thoughts. I hope Tyler finds success, and I hope that he figures it out. And I also hope that people on the internet, even if they are secretly hoping for his downfall, deconstruct that and figure out why. Because I hear you. I get it. There's something deep inside my biological experience that's also like, and yet I want to sit with that feeling and really think about it. Why does Tyler bother me so much? And is it just because he can't read the room? Or is it because he signals someone who's unsafe? Because I see this and the older sister in me, the older person in me just knows like there are so many young people on the internet right now who are going to do this, and they're not going to deserve the pile on that Tyler is experiencing. Maybe Tyler deserves it, but I don't think a lot of the autistic and neurodivergent kids who are about to get on the internet are going to deserve the amount of hateful messages and death threats Tyler has received, and nobody really deserves it, honestly. And I can also see why Tyler brought that out in people. But again, we should question why the world is the way it is and how we participate in it, because the world can't be the way it is without our participation. We're all responsible for the world as it is.
If you thought my confidence was insufferable after the spider bites, I'm gonna need you to hang on a sec, because once this thing heals, I make no apologies.